U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and the president's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, are in Abu Dhabi today for the next round of talks with Russian and Ukrainian officials. Ukraine's top negotiator calling today's talks substantive and productive and focused on concrete steps and practical solutions. But it does come as Russia continues to escalate its bombardment of Ukraine. President Zelensky saying there's already been a total of 217 Russian attacks on Ukraine's energy sector since the start of the year as the country battles frigid temperatures. Meanwhile, Russia's Ministry of Defense today claiming its forces have taken control of settlements in the Zaporizhzhia and Donetsk regions as the issue of territorial sovereignty remains a key sticking point in peace talks. Joining me now is NBC News Chief International Correspondent Keir Simmons. Keir, thank you so much for joining me. So you spoke to the Estonian president about these talks in Ukraine. What were your key takeaways?
Well, I don't think there's optimism, Kristen, but I think there's realism. President Zelensky today, after the talks, saying that the war must end for real. What he means by that, there must be real security guarantees. There must be a real agreement with Russia that doesn't reward Russia, as he describes it, for its aggression. And what you hear from the Estonian president in the interview that I conducted with him, Alar, Karis, is that they recognise that this is a very difficult position for Ukraine, and at the same time they are determined not to give Moscow an inch because of the danger that Moscow in the future will take more. Take a listen. Do you think this comes down to President Putin?
At this very moment, yes. So we'll see. I mean, there have been so many attempts. I mean, from President Trump and also Zelensky and also other presidents of different countries to convince Putin that one should stop this war in Ukraine.
Should Ukraine give up territory in order to gain peace?
Of course, Estonia and other Western countries never accept this giving away territories. But of course, I mean, it's up to Ukraine. Because at some point you realize, I mean, Ukrainian people are dying, not only in the battlefield, but also in Kyiv and some other places, civilians, children. So you have to find a balance at some point, either to give temporarily some land away and stop this war.
To give you a picture, Kristen, even while the talks are happening here in the UAE, the temperature in Ukraine is -4 degrees Fahrenheit. And officials are saying 1,000 tower blocks in the capital, Kyiv, are without heating after the Russians, for example, hit a power plant in Kharkiv, have been hitting the power infrastructure in Ukraine. President Trump has said that he believes that President Putin kept his word and stopped the bombardment for a week. Because of those terrible temperatures. The Ukrainians say, no, the Russians have broken that agreement. And that's just a reflection, isn't it, of how challenging it will be to come to an agreement with the Russians, despite these negotiations clearly making some progress.
Yeah, it speaks to the fact that the sides are still very far apart. Keir, thank you so much. Joining me now on set is the Foreign Minister of Lithuania, a member of the NATO alliance, Kęstutis Budrys. Thank you so much for being here, Mr. Foreign Minister.
Thank you for having me here.
Well, we appreciate it. You are just emerging from some critical meetings here in Washington. What can you tell us? What was your sense coming out of these meetings?
I see that United States are returning to the leading position, creating multilateral formats to secure its own security, your own security, economic security, but also creating the conditions for the others to follow this path. For Lithuania, it is really important to increase our economic security level, as we were a target for economic coercion from China 5 years ago, really bad one. So we need the tools how to protect ourselves, so how to prevent us from China returning to repeat unfair practices of exports control that would damage our economies and our strategic industries. So United States are taking the lead, showing the way how to organize it, initiate the new format, how we would invest and control the markets for it to be reliable and for our investors to believe that it is something serious that we are creating.
What do you make of the meetings in Abu Dhabi? You have Jared Kushner, Steve Witkoff. What is your expectation for what can come out of those meetings?
They have to come together with the points of pressure on Russia. We all know why we don't have the peace deal till now. That's because Putin doesn't want it. He exploits the situation. He's playing with our time, delaying all the decisions, and then also extending the efforts of United States in this line. So of course we see what is happening with the big expectations that finally there will be the breakthrough, but it's not Ukraine that we have to break through all of it. That's Russia. Well, and seeing now how they are targeting the civilian infrastructure, energy infrastructure, that is the war crime that they are committing right now.
So you take me to my question. How do you think Russia will ever be serious about this process when here they are, as you say, in the midst of this frigid winter, targeting the energy infrastructure, depriving people of a shred of warmth?
That is absolute classic, what Russia is doing right now. Increasing pressure when there are really important ongoing efforts diplomatically. So this is in combination. So it sort of enables the diplomatic efforts, showing that they can dominate the battlefield, showing the suffering of the civilians, and showing that Ukraine is the weak side in this position. This is what they try to project into us. So we have to deny this projection. So we have to impose further sanctions on Russia to make the price even higher than they're paying right now. And this will be the tool to put them at the table with serious dedication to find the agreement. And we know that Ukrainians are ready for it. So now what is happening, that was very much predictable.
Let me ask you, because as you well know, last month President Trump was highly critical of NATO when he was at the Davos Economic Forum. Do you think that there are tensions that continue to exist in the wake of that, or have they been repaired? How do you see it?
I see that those tensions that were there, they are manageable and they were managed. And there is enough initiatives and there is enough space for us to find the solutions within the alliance. Washington Treaty of 1949, when the NATO was established, has the Article 1, and it says that if we have some disagreements, we have to find the peaceful solution for it. So if there are different views on the security arrangement in the Arctic, we have to discuss about it. And we are ready to contribute. All alliance is ready to contribute to North Atlantic security. By the way, that's in the name of the NATO, that we have to take responsibility. So we take it as the really call to action, and we have to contribute. So we see that we can manage. It was the same with the tariffs. When there were tensions, we de-escalated it and found the solution. Same with the support to Ukraine. And I see that on Arctic and Greenland, we are in a good path.
Do you still think the United States is committed to democracy based on what you're seeing and based on the comments about NATO?
We see that you're really committed to defend democracy in those countries that already have. We have to review whether we want to expand it to whole the world and whether it is feasible or not. So number one priority to us all, to Lithuania, that really got a lot from being a democratic country, to defend ourselves. Because now it is not inevitable that we will have the same liberties and the same independence as we had previously. So we have to defend, and in all the fields, militarily, economically, and politically.
All right, Mr. Foreign Minister Budrys, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.